when Vesuvius erupted on August 24th of 79 before Christ. It forever changed the lives of thousands in Pompeii. Rather than examining this disaster broadly today, I will focus on the individual stories that emerge from the archaeological evidence and written accounts. Hey there, story lovers! Welcome to the Storytelling Podcast, your cozy corner for captivating tales. I'm your host, Alejandra, and today we will have a special episode talking about Pompeii. Guys, this is a huge episode. I have been researching this for the past weeks, and Pompeii has a very soft place in my heart. But before we start, I would like you to ask for your support and click on the follow or subscribe button if you're hearing this episode on YouTube or any podcast platform. I would really appreciate that, and thank you so much for the lovely reviews that you have been leaving on the podcast. It means the world to me. So let's get starting. The preserved remains and possessions of Pompeii's citizens tells us intimate stories of their final moments, from the baker who left the bread in the oven to the wealthy merchant clutching his most valuable possessions as he fled. These personal narratives provide a more profound understanding of the human experience during one of history's most famous natural disasters. Archaeological discoveries combined with the eyewitness account of Pliny the Younger offer us a glimpse into specific lives affected by the catastrophe. From the young mother sheltering her child to the loyal dog found still chained at its posts, this story reveals both the tragedy and humanity preserved in Pompeii's volcanic tomb. Pompeii stood as a thriving Roman city until Mount Vesuvius erupted in 17 before Christ, preserving its streets, buildings, and inhabitants in volcanic ash. Pompeii was frozen in time when Vesuvius unleashed its fury. The city had been warning of the impending disaster, and Vesuvius had been dormant for centuries. The eruption began around midday with a massive column of smoke and ash. Pliny the Younger documented the event from across the Bay of Naples, providing one of the history's first detailed accounts of volcanic eruption. This disaster unfolded into two phases. First, a rain of pumice and ash from around 18 hours, followed by deadly pyroclastic flows. These superheated surges of gas and volcanic matter swept down the mountains at speeds up to 100 miles per hour. Approximately 2,000 people died in Pompeii, many in their final moments of seeking shelter or attempting escape. Before the eruption, Pompeii was a prosperous commercial center with approximately 20,000 inhabitants. Located near the Bay of Naples, it served as a trading hub and vacation destination for wealthy Romans. The city boasts with impressive urban planning with a grid of streets, sophisticated water systems, and public baths. Its forum served as the economic, religious, and political center where citizens gathered daily. Pompeii's walls displayed the vibrant frescoes depicting mythology, daily life, and sometimes explicit scenes that reveal Roman attitudes towards sexuality and entertainment. Social stratification was evident in Pompeii's architecture. Wealthy citizens lived in spacious domus, houses, with interior gardens, while poorer residents occupied apartment buildings or small dwellings above shops. Before destruction, Pompeii had already experienced damage from an earthquake in 62 before Christ. Many buildings were still under repair when Vesuvius erupted 17 years later. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 BC transformed a routine summer day into one of the history's most infamous natural disasters. In just 24 hours, the prosperous Roman towns of Pompeii and Herculaneum were buried, preserving a moment in time that remained hidden for centuries. Now, there were warning signs, and for several days before the eruption, small tremors shook the region around Vesuvius. These seismic warnings went largely unheeded by residentials accustomed to minor earthquakes in the area. But Pliny the Younger witnessed the disaster from across the Bay of Naples, described it as a strange cloud rising from the mountain like an umbrella pine, in letters that It would later provide crucial documentation of the event. Some residents noticed that the wells were drying up, springs ceasing to flow, animals exhibit unusual behaviors with dogs howling incessantly and birds flying erratically or refusing to leave their nests. These subtle signs might have saved more lives if their significance had been understood. On the day Vesuvius awakens at approximately 1 p.m., it erupted violently, sending massive plumes of ash, pumice, and gases more than 20 miles into the sky. This initial phase rained lightweight pumice stones down on Pompeii for hours. The air grew thick with ash, turning day into night. Survivors subscribed the panic as people fled their homes, covering their heads with pillows against the falling debris. Some sought shelter in buildings, while others attempted to escape by sea. By early morning on August 25th, deadly pyroclastic flows, superheated avalanches of gas, ash, and rock, surged down the mountainside at speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour. These flows instantly killed those who survived the initial phase, preserving their final moments in ash. The final moments of Pompeii were experienced differently by its diverse inhabitants, with their fates preserved through archaeological evidence and historical accounts that allow us to reconstruct their individual stories. For example, the baker and his family. The baker's name was Modestus, and he was a well-known baker in Pompeii's busy merchants district, and was captured in his final moments alongside his family. Archaeological evidence from his bakery on Via dell'Abbondanza reveals loads of bread still in the oven, suggesting that the eruption caught them during a normal workday. Plaster casts show Modestus apparently trying to shield his wife and young son as they huddle in the back room of the shop. A small bag of coins found nearby indicates that they might have been gathering valuables before attempting to flee. Their dog, also preserved in ash, was found at their feet. A little poignant detail in family unity in crisis. Unlike some Pompeians who fled immediately, inscriptions and positioning suggest Modestus delayed evacuation, perhaps believing that the initial ashfall would subside. This is so sad. Still, there was a Roman soldier that actually shared in several letters what he saw about this day. And his name was Gaius Plinius Secundus, better known as Pliny the Younger that we have referred before. And he provided one of the most detailed accounts of the eruption through his letters to Tacitus. Though not in Pompeii itself, his uncle, Pliny the Elder, commanded a rescue fleet from Misenum. The elder Pliny's soldier described this apocalyptic scene as they approached the shore near Pompeii. One soldier, whose equipment was recovered near Herculaneum, apparently abandoned his post to assist civilians, as a good person. But Pliny wrote, "The sea seemed to roll back upon itself, as to be driven from its banks by the convulsive motion of the earth." Archaeological evidence shows that some soldiers died alongside civilians as they were trying to evacuate their military-issued items found among the remains of ordinary citizens. So those who tried to help also perished. Julia Felicia, a wealthy patrician woman, was identified through her signet rings and jewelry found with her remains. She attempted to escape with a notable different resources than most citizens. Her villa in Pompeii's affluent district contained packet trunks and valuables gathered near the entrance. Unlike the baker's family, Julia had access to covered litters and servants. Evidence suggests that she ordered her household to prepare for departure, but delayed too long, possibly gathering heirlooms or waiting for family members. Her body was found near the city's gates alongside her handmaiden, both adorned with gold jewelry. A tablet was found nearby contained what appears to be written instructions for property management, suggesting that Julia actually believed she would eventually return. Inscriptions discovered in neighboring towns indicate that a few members of Julia's household survived, having been sent away with less valuable possessions while she gathered her most precious items. Returning to Pliny the Younger's letters, he wrote about his position across the Bay of Naples, where he describes the cloud of unusual size and appearance rising from the mountain. His letters and accounts also documented his uncle Pliny the Elder's fatal attempt to rescue friends from the disaster. The elder Pliny, he was a commander of a naval fleet at Mycenaeum, sailed towards Pompeii, but he was overcome by toxic fumes. Through Pliny's words, we witness the confusion and terror that gripped the region. He recorded people carrying peoples on their heads for protection, and how the darkness descended. It's not like the moonless night, but like a room when it's shut up and all the lights are extinguished, Pliny said. Nowadays, Pompeii is an archaeological site where you can visit, and every single day, experts can find artifacts, little details that can approach us a little bit more of what happened to the several peoples and families in Pompeii that day. The discovery of plaster casts has provided the most poignant connections to individual Pompeians. When excavators notice hollow spaces in the ash layers, they fill them with plaster, revealing the exact positions of victims in their final moments. Notable examples include the embracing couple found in the house of Cryptoporticus and the crouching man with his hands raised against the toxic clouds. These casts capture intimate human reactions to catastrophe. Daily artifacts tell personal stories as well. While the baker left the loaves in the oven, merchants abandoned their shops with goods still in display and valuable items remain in homes. Eventually, people expected to return. Graffiti preserved on walls offers additional personal perspectives, for example, election slogans, love notes, and the tavern reviews how vibrant social life was until the eruption began. The destruction of Pompeii has captivated artists for centuries, inspiring creative works that attempt to capture the human experience of the disaster. These interpretations help us connect emotionally with victims of Vesuvius and understanding their final moments through different artistic lenses. The Villa of Mysteries contains remarkably preserved frescoes showing daily life before the eruption, providing contrast to the tragedy that followed. 18th century artists like Jacob Philipp Eckert created neoclassical paintings depicting the eruption, often emphasizing the terrifying power of nature against the human civilization. These works typically portray citizens fleeing while looking back at the doomed city. The famous Cave Canem, or Beware the Dog, mosaic found at the house of the tragic poet, demonstrates how art preserved at Pompeii offer glimpses of ordinary lives suddenly interrupted. These works served as both historical documentation and emotional testament to the disaster. Movies and books talking about the Pompeii are numerous. I can name you a few. We have Robert Harris' 2003 novel called Pompeii, following the Roman engineer in the days leading up to the eruption, and blending historical accuracy with compelling characterization. For example, in the 2014 movie Pompeii, starring Kit Harington from Game of Thrones, dramatized the eruption through the eyes of the gladiator and nobleman's daughter. And they were talking about the historical liberties, and the film captured the sudden violence of the event and the randomness of survival. Is some other type of documentaries, especially the BBC ones, Pompeii's The Last Day, it's from 2003, that used forensic archaeology and historical records to recreate the experiences of specific victims. These productions often focus on the plaster of casts of victims and brings individual stories to life. I really recommend you, if you are interested, to see this BBC's documentary. If we are talking about science, and in this case the geological aspect of it, This created, after the Vesuvius eruption, this created the science of the volcanic eruptions. Mount Vesuvius is a stratovolcano localized on the subduction zone where the African plate slides beneath the Eurasian plate. Before the eruption, several earthquakes rocked the region, warning signs that went largely unrecognized by residents, what we know by now. And this eruption actually began around midday on the August 24th, when pressure from the trapped gases and the magma finally broke from the mountain's cap. This created the distinctive pine tree shaped plume described by Pliny the Younger's accounts, and rising above 33 kilometers in the atmosphere. The initial phase buried Pompeii under 2 to 3 meters of pumice and ash, collapsing roofs, and trapping many inhabitants. Those who survived this phase faced deadly pyroclastic surges, fast-moving clouds of gas, volcanic matter that sweep through the city at speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. This eruption claimed approximately 2,000 lives in Pompeii alone, and most victims died from the thermal shock and asphyxiation, rather than from lava or direct impact of volcanic materials. Beyond, of course, the immediate human toll, the eruption fundamentally altered the landscape. The coastline shifted westwards, the Sarno River's course changed, and the once fertile lands became buried under meters of volcanic deposits. This disaster created this unintentionally time capsule, preserved these details in nearly 2 millennia. Now imagine that Pompeii actually was buried for 1700 years before being rediscovered in the 18th century. Pompeii's rediscovery happens in 1748 when works under the direction of Spanish engineer Joaquín de Alcubierre stumble upon the site while digging a foundation. Initial excavations were unsystematic and artifacts were removed for royal collections rather than studied in context. But this would change dramatically in 1860 when Giuseppe Fiorelli became director of excavations. Fiorelli introduces specific methods, including detailed documentation and the revolutionary technique of pouring plasters into voids left decomposed bodies. By the early 20th century, archaeologist Amadeo Maiori expanded excavations significantly, uncovering almost two-thirds of the city. His works revealed the extensive street grid, the public buildings, and the residential areas that we recognize today. Now, sometimes the world actually learns from historical disasters such as Pompeii's. Pompeii's destruction offers a valuable lesson about human responses to catastrophe. Modern disaster guidelines draw directly from the studying Pompeii. Research on evacuation patterns and behavior under extreme stress informs contemporary emergency protocols. You might have heard this several times, like having a bag with water, some food, a blanket, or, for example, if there is an earthquake, just run to under a table or try to get out of the house as soon as possible and forget the valuables. Well, you heard through this episode how people grab their valuables instead of running for their lives, right? The catastrophe also teaches us about historical memory and commemoration. Pompeii transforms from a forgotten tragedy to a powerful cautionary tale that continues to resonate across millennia. And this is it, guys. This was today's episode. Thank you for listening. And remember that if you would like to send your stories or specific topic to be shared in the next episodes, please send it to the storytellingpodcast 80 at gmail.com. But before you go, if you haven't done so already, I would love for you to click on the follow and subscribe button and see you on the next episode. But if you are looking for more reading and resources about Pompeii, I can share you a couple of books and museums and exhibitions and the documentaries. For example, for books, we have The Fires of Vesuvio by Mary Beard that offers a scholarly insight into the daily life. We have Pompeii, The Life of a Roman Town, and then we have A Day in Pompeii with Robert Harris, which is the most known. In terms of museums and exhibition, you have the Naples Archaeological Museum, of course, on the Bay of Pompeii, and the Pompeii Archaeological Park that offers virtual tours on the official website for those that, might not do it. I've tried it and it's really, really nice. You should check it. In terms of documentaries, my favorite personal one is the BBC's Pompeii the Last Day from 2003. And you have History Channel's Pompeii Circus of the Dead, which is a series following along the details that have been found in Pompeii itself. And this is it. This is it, guys. See you on the next episode, and thank you for listening.